so many funny parts. Even Ben telling Quentin that he would bang his mom
Dude,
constantly,
dude, he had a fetish for his mom. Like,
right?
it was real.
It's just
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to Nerd Taku Podcast, where we watch it so you don't have to. I'm your host, Eli. With me is my co-host, Ben.
hey guys, how's it going?
This week, we will be reviewing the 2015 romantic comedy drama, Paper Towns. Spoiler warnings ahead. My dude, spoilers. Are there many in this episode?
You always ask it, and you know the answer. Absolutely.
Director, Jake Schreier. Main cast, Nat Wolff, Cara Delevingne, Austin Abrams, Justice Smith. Ben, this film was a treat, to say the least. It was quite a humorous time. I couldn't find this film just showed just plain fun. It was just something like whimsical a little bit. It was a little quirky, had its moments of sadness, but yeah, also just some joy. But what were your initial feelings after watching this?
Oh, it was great, man. It was fun to watch. There was a lot of upbeat, fun times. Even the beginning when he first sees Margot move in and the ball drops out of his hand and he says, "I was hopelessly, madly in love at first sight." That set the picture right there. And then throughout, it just shows how his feelings were for Margot all the way through the film. It was an absolute joy to watch. I loved it.
It was so good. I could not say anything truly like harshly negative about it. It was just so fun. I gave this film an 8.25.
I gave it just a little higher, an 8.5.
If you've never heard of this film, Paper Towns, the synopsis is after an all-night adventure, Quentin's lifelong crush, Margot, disappears, leaving behind clues that Quentin and his friends follow on a journey of a lifetime. That's so pure. It's so good. And I just can't wait to go into this and talk more about it. So let's
freaking do it, man.
Let's get in this. Let's get in this. Plot
got a 1.
I feel like I gave plot a 0.75. I was teetering on one. It was like a 0.85 for me, but I just like went down a little bit on it. But why'd you give it a 1?
I had to give it a 1. This whole story is based on the feelings this one kid had for this girl. And they split away from each other. So they were really close when they were younger. And then as they started to grow up, they split. Then she just randomly shows up in his room one day and says, "I need your car. I have 9 tasks I have to do, and I need your car." And he's like, "Well, I can't give you my car." She's like, "Oh, I don't want to do it alone. You're coming with me." Basically forces him out of his room. Really, this has a love story in it, but it's really truly about getting the main character, Quentin, out of his ordinary, same mundane life that he lives every single day and bring him out of his bubble and out of his shell. It's just wonderfully delivered. She does all this adventuring with him that night, leaves him clues, and disappears. He has to solve this puzzle. Well, he doesn't have to. He chooses to solve this puzzle to go find Margot and has the greatest adventure of his life. He's never done anything like this before. He leaves without telling his parents where he's going. He goes out with his friends, goes to sketchy places that he would never, ever, ever in his life venture into. But because of the feelings he had for Margot, he felt like he had to. He felt like she was leaving him clues to come find her. This is truly a story of Quentin progressing and finally getting out of this mundane life and going on a true wonderful adventure with his friends. I absolutely love this plot because I feel like it's something I should have done. Just get out of my comfort zone, have some fun at a young age, and actually live my life. Now I'm still stuck in the same mundane every day. Now I go to work, come home, eat, sleep, do the same thing every single day. But I feel like if I had branched off more in school in the years that I was growing up, even in my early 20s, I'd be a different person. I'd have more fun than what I do on a daily basis. So I kind of really resonated with this plot line, bringing Quentin out of his bubble to just show him that life is worth living. You just have to live it. Live in the now, live in the moment. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the future. Have some thought for the future, but don't focus on it. Just have fun. Live in the now. And that's what this story portrayed. I just, it resonated with me strongly. I loved it.
Bravo. Bravo. Can't say it any better, my guy. You can't say it any better. I brought it up to a 1. It's just a whimsical tale of a man trying to find love, and it's just so pure. Like, you don't feel the immaturity in it until when he has that first breakdown. You realize that, oh, he's still a teenager, so like he's breaking down like pretty bad, but it's just fun. These guys are literal losers in their circles. Like, the only guy who has a girlfriend is the most Radar. Like, who nicknames yourself Radar? What nerd comes up with that? And mind you, he got a banger of a girl. Like, these guys are nerds. They did something that never in their wildest dreams would have happened. Like you said, it's just so good. It's so pure. It was just a great story. It's from the writer of from Our Fault in Our Stars, and it's just so pure. And that is just, it was just solid. It was just pure gold. Acting,
I gave that a 0.75.
I gave it a 0.5.
Why?
I will say this. Quentin, the actor, Nat Wolff, he, time and time again, I've seen some of his roles, like Stuck in Love, Stuck on You, I think it was called, and some other films. He is not a good emotional like screamer, or like when he gets upset, he's not the greatest at it. It's rough. When he is talking to his friends, he's like breaking down, but you can feel he's forcing it. It's not coming from the pit of his soul. You can feel that it's just ugh. The most iconic role he ever had, that's basically the worst film he's ever done. The first 5 minutes of the film, he's screaming in it. And it's like, and he took Paper Towns, made me realize that he never learned from his mistakes. Of his emotions he's not good at it. He doesn't know how to control the emotions well. He's a great actor. Don't get me wrong. I loved him in this film. I loved it in Stuck on You because he was a teenager in that one too. But he's a child actor who never fully got the acting training he needed. And he's the main guy. He's the main dude. It felt a little uncomfortable throughout some of his scenes, but everyone else brought him up. It was so good. I will say this. His two bros, Ben and Radar, best boys. Justice Smith, dude, I love him. Such a great actor. He is such an iconic actor. And Ben, I haven't seen a lot of his work, Austin Abrams, but he's so funny in this. He just brings the characters to life. But if your main guy is inconsistent with his emotions, what can you say? I couldn't even think about giving it a 0.75. It was close to a 0.6, 0.55. So I had to I brought it down because your main guy should be more attuned to his emotions.
I do have to agree with what you're saying about Quentin. He really forced the emotions out. He did great when it came to the comedy parts, when it came to connecting with his friends, kind of bringing out his awkwardness on screen, but when it came to the really down deep emotional screaming, it was lackluster. There wasn't it just felt like he was trying to force this character that didn't really bring out a connection. The reason it got the 0.75 was because the supporting actors really brought their characters to the screen. Even Ben, Radar, Lacey, and Angela, even the small part that Lacey had there at the end, still brought out a lot that had to support Quentin. She wanted to find Margot just as much. Like they're sitting in the tub, right?
Yeah.
And at the party, and she asks Quentin to get in the tub with her. She brings out the emotional side of, what do you see when you look at me? And Quentin responds with beautiful. Like she says, the first word that pops in your head when you see me. He says beautiful. And then that's when she's like, no, see, that's what everybody sees. But they don't see that I'm smart. They don't see I'm clever. I'm funny. They don't see any of this other stuff that is the me. They just see the outer me. And it made you connect. It made you feel everybody's judged on a daily basis just by what they look like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how she felt, because nobody got to know the real her. And Ben and Radar, like you said, best boys. They really supported Quentin 100%. Everything. He's like, well, let's go to this place. And they're like, well, we have school. What about school? Quentin's just like, we can miss a day. It's not like nothing important's going to happen. And they went along with it. They were 100% supportive of Quentin finding Margot. They supported him strongly. Their acting was amazing. They were funny, man. It was laughter throughout. Ben playing his drunk self, the way that Austin Abrams portrayed Ben drunk, just epic, man. The 0.75 I feel is very justified because of the supporting cast. Even Margot herself being elusive and crazy and fun. Kara delivered Margot in a way that you wanted to really I wanted to be friends with this girl. She made it fun. Her revenge plots were great. Putting Nair on one of the person's eyebrows, getting a picture of him running naked after calling the parents that their daughter was having sex in the basement right now. Saran wrapping Lacey's car, saying that's a wrap on our friendship. Just the witty remarks she left on all of her post-its at every site that she visited. It was just great. Kara, Austin, Justice, Nat, they all delivered their characters beautifully. It's just Nat couldn't quite connect that emotional way. That's why it was only dropped to a 0.75. Everybody else did great. Nat did amazing. He really did. The only thing that I felt was in the emotional scenes, he was really trying to bring this character out, but couldn't quite get what he needed.
I totally agree. Character development.
0.75.
I gave this a 1.
I had to drop it just because there was development throughout, but again, I couldn't connect with Quentin. He had great progression, but when it came to him getting angry at his friends and telling them to leave, he's not going to go anywhere because he's going to find Margot. The regression in that scene was too much for what Nat could handle. And even after he did find Margot and he decided that he couldn't stay with Margot, he had to go back because he was going to go to school. He was going to pursue his career. That's great. That was development in and of itself, but the regression of Nat at that certain point, the regression of Quentin at that certain point when he started screaming at his friends saying, okay, well, screw you guys, I'm staying here. It was so forced. It was so just lackluster. That's all I can say. I just didn't feel like it was there. But Ben had development in finally finding someone to go to prom with. I liked Radar's development. He finally told Angela everything, why he wasn't inviting her to the house or letting him meet his friends. They went on this epic journey together, and he finally lost his V card.
Hell yeah, you lost it.
He lost his V
Yeah.
card during this trip. Yes. But even Lacey had development. She's just another side character that came in halfway through the film, but her development was strong enough that it kept it at a 0.75. It's just I couldn't see Quentin's development being strong enough. I loved how he finally came out of his box, started moving forward. It's just that breakdown that ruined it for me.
The whole situation in this film with the character development, the side characters really did outshine the main guy. It really did. And I can see where you're coming from with the digression he had. It was really rough. It felt really, really plain. I loved the fact that Margot and Quinn, they sat down at the diner and they talked it out. They figured out things. And the line he gave was, "What do I mean to you?" And she just poured out, like, he matters. He's the first. Like, why did you pick me? And it's like, you're the first one on the journey and the last one I wanted to do it with. Your first. And it was like, so good. It just brought it all together. Like, Margot showed that she still cared after 8, 9 years of not really talking to each other. She still wanted that friendship, that companionship she yearned for with Quinn. And yeah, Quinn, the breakdown was the worst part of the film. It's one of the roughest ones I've seen. He did not do well with the emotion. But come on, Radar, he lost a V card. He talked about Black Santas. Like, he opened up so cleanly. That scene where they're getting scared to go into the hole and they all start seeing Pokemon to get themselves hyped. It showed that these guys still had childlike wonder and still progressed to find that adventure. They wanted to keep going. They moved forward. Yes, Quinn was rough, but this whole cast kept it alive. Lacey, I love the witty comment just to get Ben excited. He's like, I'm more of a Charizard guy. But like, the development there was like growing of a blossoming relationship, and them sitting next to each other when the car's breaking down. Ben's trying to get that courage to do it, and she just brings it up and goes, "You want to go to prom?" And he goes, "Yeah." Joy you felt with Ben on the journey of getting the girl. Oh, so good. That whole adventure was amazing. So that's why I gave the 1. Yes, Quinn was the weakest link, but his bros, the woman he loved, and the girl who came into the story to find the friend really did encapsulate what friends are for. They encapsulate the friendship you need. Because deep down, if you look at yourself, we're all 0.5s in our character development. We're not the greatest people in the world, but our friends bring us up to get up to that 1. Sound and music.
0.75.
I gave it a 1. I really did love the indie vibe this film gave through its music. I love the soft tones. I love the melodic music. I did like the adventure music that they were using. And I did love the fact that it wasn't overdone. It wasn't like they weren't just like putting music in random spots. They actually made it work in the moments. Like when Quinn's friends left him, he was walking around that paper town and he was just walking, and you hear this indie folk singer. I don't even know who the singer was, but it worked with the tone of the scene where he was depressed, really brought out the emotion of the whole scene. And I love the friends where they were just dancing and at the prom. And I love when they were dancing together, Margot and Quinn up in the skyscraper, and the music was just so soft and very slow, and it was nice. The music really tied well. It worked well overall, and I could truly say I have no complaints.
I didn't have much to complain about. The main thing was I think the music took too much focus off of what was going on. It was great. I'm not lying about that. They put music right where it needed to be, how strong it was, but it was a bit too strong. It took your focus away from what was happening at the moment. You got so focused. I ended up getting really focused on a lot of the music points that I missed some plot points. So I had to rewind a little bit and watch that part again to watch or to hear what was going on. Because the music was so captivating that I lost focus on paying attention to the film and paid attention to the music. I especially loved how they needed the courage to go through the hole. So they're like, let's sing a song. Okay. And they start going. Ben comes and starts, I want to be the very best that no one ever was. And so Quentin looks over and he's like, really? That's what you're going to go with? The Pokemon theme? It's, it's what popped in my head. Radar starts singing. And then Quentin's like, well, screw it. Here we go. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. You know, it was so good.
Best boys.
But like the only complaint I had was that it was so encapsulating that it took your focus away from the film itself.
See, I see where you're coming from. I do. And that is a valid point. Cinematography.
0.75.
I give it a 0.75.
Why?
Wasn't the greatest, wasn't the worst. I couldn't really find anything too negative. Like the lighting was a little weird, but overall I thought it was a well shot film. It's not one of my highlighted films. Nothing like there was no shot that really went, wow, that was amazing. The hump is stuck. It is the cinematography got stuck at a 0.75. It's good, but it's not. C's get degrees, right? That's what it felt like. It was C's getting degrees. It wasn't a B or an A. It was a C.
See, I agree. I thought it was pretty average. It was just kind of moving along with the story. There wasn't anything really captivating that popped out like some of the other films that we had, especially like 1917 when it was a follow camera all the way through and all that shit. You know how good that was?
Dude, nothing will peak over in cinematography of 1917. There might be some films out there that might be as amazing as that, but 1917 has a thing where it's a standalone cinematography masterpiece.
Right? I know. But after seeing something like that and you're trying to compare other films, it's really hard to get into the cinematics, right?
It's like eating a strawberry shortcake, like the best one ever, and then eating like Betty Crocker's.
Right?
No.
It's really hard. And I do have to say, I had my lights off and I still, when they went into that creepy ass abandoned building, it was really hard to see. I get that like it's an abandoned building, so lights don't work. They have to use flashlights, but other movies show that and you can still see what's going on the screen. It was just a little too dark right there.
Yeah.
Even when Margot and him were running around at night, there was still more lighting, you know?
Yeah.
But like you said, it's pretty much just plateaued all the way through. There was no up and down in the cinematics. It was just a straight line all the way through. Same shots straight through. Not bad, not great, just right in the middle. 0.75 is deserving.
Directing.
That did get a 1.
I gave this a 1. I really did enjoy the direction that Jake went with his ideal for this book adaptation. It was good. To me, it was actually really good. I really liked it. I've never seen the book. I've never read the book. Sorry. Never read the book fully. I've read bits and pieces because I had friends at my former job who were reading it and they loved it and they would tell me about it. And I thought that it did really well. The director was very precise on his shots. He had a great cast. He had a good cinematographer. Sound and music was so fun. I love the jokes. The dialogue is solid. And yeah, I thought he just did a overall, great job.
I agree. I feel like he wanted to portray this story to the best of his ability to match the book as best as he could. Did really well. I think that, I guess if I had to give it a negative, he was trying to push Nat to do dramatic scene of getting his friends out of the way. That's the one thing that I had that I would say is a negative, but it didn't affect the overall film so much that it dropped his directing style. He had a story he wanted to deliver, not just about love, but about a boy coming out of his comfort zone and going on this adventure, and it was delivered. It was done perfectly. He went out with Margot, found clues, got his friends involved, had a blast. I feel like the development throughout, the cinematics weren't great, but they were where they needed to be. His Sound of Music was so overpowering. That's the only reason it dropped, like I said, but it was beautiful. It was great. Everything matched the scene perfectly. There was just so much in this altogether that pushed the directing towards a 1. It was just, it was smooth. It was very well done.
Yes, I couldn't say anything better. Attraction.
That got a 0.75.
That got a 0.75. Why did you give it a 0.75?
Because I have 4.75s in a row that have to do with acting, development, music, and cinematography. All those together, for it to get a perfect 1, 2 at most in the first 5, I think will give it a 1. But because those were dropped in my my vision of this film, that it was great, but there were little aspects in it that kind of pulled your attention away just enough that I was able to critique those little aspects, and that overall consistency doesn't quite push this film to a 1. To be honest, I would probably give it a 0.8, but again, 0.25 scale, I dropped it down to a 0.75.
I agree with you there. Like that's exactly it. Like when I gave acting a 0.5, you can't give a 1 to attraction. That means that you're saying that the acting is still attractive enough to watch it. No, it's kind of off-putting, that whole scene. So the 0.75 is well deserved. Don't get me wrong, it's a great film, but there are bits and pieces, like you said, that are just not good. They're not. We critique them, and it actually shows to us that it's not 100% amazing. Dialogue.
That got a 1.
I gave it a 0.75 because there's some lines I kind of remember, but overall, my favorite one is the Pokemon. You know, they all started just singing and having a great time. I liked how at the end Margot really showed that whole "you were my first partner in crime. I wanted to finish it off with my last." And when you opened up, you surprised me. You surprised me a lot, and it just showed that she really did care for Quinn. And there's some funny ones here and there, but overall, I thought it was good. It was good.
I actually have quite a few quotes that I wrote down. There were a lot of them that made me laugh. But there are also some that hit pretty good. One that really resonated with me is when Margot is talking with Quentin, and Quentin's like, "Okay, are we done?" And Margot says, "No, we bring the rain, not the scattered showers." That's her literally saying, "I'm not done until I'm satisfied with how I tell these people that our friendship is done or our relationship is done." She does several things to portray that. Taking the picture of him naked as he's running, wrapping the car in saran wrap, leaving a dead fish in the closet, taking an eyebrow off with Nair. There was just so much that she did. And when she said, "We bring the rain, not the scattered showers," she meant it. Like, she came down hard on all the people that she said our relationships are done. I loved it. The witty banter back and forth between the 3 friends, especially about Ben's fake sex life, loved it. They're just like, "Oh yeah, what was her name?" And he gives a name, and Quentin's like, "Oh, okay, well, what's the last name? What's her last name?" It's something hard. Just give me one letter of the last name. Just give me the last name. And he can't give the last name because he's always telling them about all these sexcapades that he's been on, and they all know it's all bullshit. Their back and forth is great. Or when they're in the band class or in the band room and they're just talking back and forth, and Angela comes by and Radar's like, no, come on, let's go. And Ben and Quentin are left behind, and they're just like, bye, Angela. Glad we could have these chats. They didn't even talk to Angela. It's the sarcasm. I love the sarcasm that they portray. Then there's Radar when they're talking about going to this party. They want to go to this party. They've never been to a party. And Quentin's like, we've been to parties before. Radar's response, if it has a tuba, it ain't a party.
Yeah.
I fucking broke out laughing, man. It was just, I didn't deliver it well, but he sure as hell did. It's just fucking great. And then, of course, there's when they're in the room and they start singing Pokemon. Ben says, oh, you don't get as scared if you sing. And so Quentin, okay, well, somebody sing something. Pokemon comes up. So funny, so great. Perfectly put. 3 nerds having a great time. It's just so fun. There was so much dialogue in this that could have been put here. So funny, so many funny parts. Even Ben telling Quentin that he would bang his mom constantly.
Dude, he had a fetish for his mom. Like,
right?
it was real.
It's just, there was just so much comedy gold in this adventure comedy that I felt like it 100% deserved a 1. I was laughing throughout the entire film, and that's what they wanted. They wanted you to laugh. They wanted you to connect with these characters. It was strong. It was there. It was great.
Damn you son of a bitch. Brought it up to a 1. You brought up good points.
I win.
You win. Scenery.
That got a 0.75.
That got a 0.75. Yeah, that was nothing special, nothing spectacular. It's a C grade. It's nothing too exciting. It's Florida. What do you expect? Florida's desolate, gross, smells. Sorry, Floridans who listen. Get Florida to smell better. Every time I go to Florida, it smells awful. And that's what I get. Every time I watch a movie that's in Florida, it's just smelly. It's gross. It's so white collar, generic looking. Each house looks all the same. It doesn't look anything different. There was nothing unique. Maybe the bedroom of Margot's was interesting, but beyond that, grass, fields, high school, yeah, it wasn't. No, it's mid grade.
Really, the only thing that popped out during this film was while they were on the road trip to New York. Other than that, it was just, bedrooms, like you said, buildings, bedrooms, school. There was just nothing real eye-popping. The best looking scenery was during the road trip when you could see outside the van and they almost crash into a cow and they're sitting there on the side of the road. Like, that's some pretty sights, but really other than that, there's not much. It's nothing real grabby.
Yeah. And can we say that it is fucking so badly done when you empty a city out to film something?
Yeah, I noticed that. There was nobody.
Yeah, like, so the thing that films do that I don't understand is that they will pay to block off roads so that they can film something in a major city. And for me, it just shows that you don't want people in it. Yes, it's probably 2, 3 in the morning, but there's people still in Orlando going around.
A lot of it is because if someone is seen on camera, that person has to be paid.
Yes, and probably the budget wasn't that great to start with in this film. It probably was very low. It wasn't the most spectacular budget. So I could see why, but it's still, come on, guys. Give me something. Give me some life. Take some of the extras that you're already using in the high school or like around town.
Right? Just show something.
Show me something because it just felt so bleh.
This is not part of scenery, but part of plot. The one thing that really pushed it to actually start. I love how Margot is talking about doing this, and he says, "Well, why is your boyfriend on that list?" And she says, "Ex-boyfriend," and his face just lights up. That's what pushed the plot. I just like the fact that because she said X, he's like, "Oh, X. Okay,
Hey,
let's do this.
let's do
All
this.
right, I'm down. Yeah, let's go. I
Let's
got my
do
man.
this.
Let's go."
I love that. And the adventure started. Also, the budget for this film was only $12 million, so I could see why the city was emptied.
Uh-huh. Unfortunately,
Unfortunately, so it did make it less desirable.
just unrealistic, really.
Unrealistic, exactly. Recommended.
Oh, that's a solid one, my friend.
I give it a 1 as well.
It is so worth the watch. It's emotional, it's funny, it's adventure prone. Just so much in this that really connects you to the story. You can really resonate with it, especially me. I resonated perfectly because, like I had said before, I didn't get out much in school. I hung out with friends, but that was at their house, you know? It
Mhm.
wasn't we didn't do much.
No,
I'm
we
I'm
didn't.
I'm just gonna be honest, we were introverts. Well, at least I was. I was a major introvert. I really didn't do anything. This shows me how much I missed and what I could have done differently. And it I don't know, it just made it so that I wanted more. And I could have done more. And this just I don't know. It's worth the watch. It really is. It shows a great adventure, a lot of fun happenings with some romantic plot lines in there. It's great. It's worth the watch.
I feel you on the whole it strike a core with you. It it just hits like high school really wasn't that big of a woo. We didn't do much. We did go to Disneyland, like, but that was pretty much it outside of, but that was for the school trip. That wasn't like we did something on our own.
Right.
No, we didn't start doing that stuff till after high school. We went our own separate paths for a while and figured out our lives and shit. It was kind of the film made me realize that high school was a moment that I won't forget, but I won't want to ponder on as much.
Agreed.
I want to try to live the life I want to live as best as I can, but at the same time, I know I missed opportunities. I know I missed golden opportunities to succeed in many fields I wanted. But that's in the past. I got to move forward. And this film showed me that. And now I'm happy to recommend this to anyone who really needs to figure out who they are as a person. This is such a great film to figure out what you really are looking for.
Agreed.
So overall, I had a little bit of a roller coaster like last week, and I'm at an 8.75.
I stayed at an 8.5.
So as we wrap things up, I'd like to talk about next week's episode. We watched the trailer for the 2005 supernatural drama thriller Constantine. Dude, screaming 2005. It screamed the Matrix at me. I love the I am not a superhero fan. I am not any hero, nothing. I don't like that stuff. This makes me excited to see something. The dark, gritty tones. I love Keanu Reeves. He is such an amazing actor. I love what this trailer was offering. I want to see more. I want to see more. So I'm giving this a 7.5. I am excited to see what this brings.
I am very excited to see what this brings. I love the story of Constantine. He is the very dark epitome of he is the very dark side of DC. His shit gets into all kinds of occult. Demons, angels, ghosts, it doesn't matter. He dies so much to get into the other world. His story is just epic and I'm excited to see it on screen because I read these all the time I've seen the animated videos, I've seen the animated movies. This one, yes, it screams 2005, but what the trailer showed, the fucking glass going into slow motion as the demon is coming into the room, the water splashing up during some type of explosion. I don't know. It was all over the place. It looked suspenseful. It looked amazing. I can't wait to see this. I'm really excited to watch this film, and I'm giving it an 8.
Ooh, I got a lot of Dante Inferno vibes when I watched this trailer, and it's so good.
I'm really hoping for a very strong interpretation of the comics for this film.
As we wrap up, I like to thank everyone for tuning in to this week's episode of Nerd Otaku Podcast. If you'd like to follow us, we're on Instagram and Threads under nerd_taku_podcast. We're also on YouTube under Kingdom Note Studios. We are on all major streaming platforms where you get your music. And as always, I'm Eli.
I'm Ben.
And thank you for joining us this week, and take care.
Have a good one, guys. Hope to see you next week.